Have you ever noticed the heavy silence that follows a wasted afternoon? What if the real damage is not the time you lost, but the cruelty with which you punish yourself for losing it? Most people do not realize that the deep shame they feel after hours of distraction is actually a heavier burden than the distraction itself. If you have ever felt exhausted by your own mind, caught in a cycle of scrolling, procrastinating, and then hating yourself for doing nothing, this is for you. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may change the way you see this pain forever. We all know the feeling. You sit down with a plan, carrying a quiet determination to finally focus, to catch up, to do what needs to be done. But then, a slight discomfort arises, a minor stress, a brief pause to check a message, and suddenly, hours have vanished. You look at the clock, and a familiar, suffocating, sinking feeling settles in your chest. The time is gone. The promises you made to yourself are broken, and the all-or-nothing mind violently takes over, whispering that because you ruined this hour, the entire day is a failure. You feel behind in life. You feel like you cannot trust yourself. You lose one minor skirmish against your attention, and you instantly decide that the entire war is lost. In Buddhist thought, there is a deep understanding of how the mind creates its own suffering through attachment. This is not just about attachment to physical things, but attachment to the idea of a perfect self. When you set out to live with intention, you often create a rigid, flawless image of how your day should unfold. When human frailty inevitably breaks that image, the intense pain you feel is simply the shattering of an illusion. Buddhist wisdom reminds us that perfection is a rigid trap. It asks us to look at our lapses not as permanent moral failures, but as temporary clouds drifting across the vast, open sky of our awareness. Imagine a boat moving through rough water. The wind shifts, and the boat is blown slightly off its intended course. A skilled sailor does not panic. They do not curse the wind, scream at the water, or abandon the wheel in despair, declaring the entire journey ruined. They simply notice the drift, adjust the sails, and gently guide the boat back to its path. But what we do in our minds is very different. When we drift off course into a sea of digital distraction or avoidance, we drop the wheel entirely. We let the boat spin completely out of control, punishing ourselves because the wind blew in the first place. Think about your own life. How often do you let a single moment of weakness dictate the rest of your evening? You spend an hour avoiding a difficult work task, lost in a screen, and instead of simply stopping, you say, "Well, the day is already ruined." And so, you lose 3 more hours. The initial distraction was just a small drift. The real suffering, the actual collapse, was the self-hatred that followed. Ask yourself, is this harsh, relentless judgment actually helping you change? Or is it just making you too emotionally exhausted to try again? What are you afraid will happen if you simply forgive yourself for drifting? The next time you catch yourself waking up from a trance of wasted time, stop, breathe, observe the heavy feeling of guilt without letting it become who you are. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. You slipped, that is all. You do not have to burn the whole house down just because one room is messy. You can always simply begin again. But to truly break this cycle of all or nothing thinking, we must look closer at the wound itself, because distraction is rarely a sign of laziness or weakness. Beneath the scrolling and the waiting, there is a hidden reason why we run away. 2. Distraction as a shield, not a flaw. What if your lack of focus is not a sign of weakness, but a desperate attempt to protect yourself? Here is the truth few people want to face. You do not lose hours to endless scrolling and noise because you are lazy. You lose them because you are in pain. We are so quick to label ourselves as undisciplined. You sit down to work, or you plan a quiet evening to rest. And suddenly, an invisible weight settles on your shoulders. You are faced with a difficult task, a complex decision, or simply the overwhelming quiet of your own mind. Before you even realize what is happening, you are miles away. You are lost in a screen, mindlessly consuming the lives of others, seeking any kind of noise to drown out the present moment. We convince ourselves we are just looking for entertainment, but in reality, we are running from discomfort. We are avoiding the subtle, creeping anxiety of not feeling good enough. We use distraction to quiet the fear of failure, the pressure of expectations, and the silent loneliness that surfaces when we sit still. Buddhist wisdom teaches that much of our suffering arises from our constant resistance to what is. We spend our lives trying to escape the present moment because we find it uncomfortable. In Buddhist thought, this urge to flee is a deeply ingrained human habit, born from a natural aversion to emotional pain. But running away only gives the fear more power. Buddhism reminds us that averting our gaze from reality does not change reality. It only prolongs our unease. True freedom begins when we stop viewing distraction as a moral failure and start seeing it for what it truly is, a misguided shield against suffering. Imagine a bird trapped inside an open cage. The door is wide open, leading to a vast, peaceful sky. But every time a sudden wind rattles the metal or a loud noise startles the bird, it retreats deeper into the darkest corner of the cage, fluttering wildly against the bars. The bird thinks the dark corner is safe. It does not realize that the very place it runs to is what keeps it imprisoned. The cage is not locked. The bird is simply too afraid of the unknown wind outside to fly free. We do the exact same thing in our daily lives. When the pressure to succeed becomes too heavy, or when the quiet of the evening forces us to face our own restless thoughts, we retreat into our digital cages. We seek the temporary numbness of a glowing screen because sitting with our own insecurity feels too loud. We think we are resting, but we are actually hiding. We are the bird terrified of the wind, choosing the familiar prison of distraction over the vast, sometimes uncomfortable freedom of presence. Think about your own life. Think about the exact moment just before you lose yourself in hours of noise. What was the thought that made you look away? Ask yourself, what are you actually running from when you desperately reach for a distraction? Are you truly seeking joy, or are you just seeking an escape from a feeling you do not want to sit with? What uncomfortable truth is waiting for you in the silence? You are not powerless. The next time the urge to distract yourself arises, do not fight it with anger. Pause, breathe, treat the urge as a messenger. Ask yourself what you are avoiding. Observe the discomfort without immediately trying to drown it out. Let the feeling exist in the room with you. Stop fighting the silence, because peace is not found by constantly running away from your fears. It is found by making space for them, acknowledging them, and choosing to stay anyway. But to truly stop running, we must examine the impossible standard that makes us want to hide in the first place. And this is where the next truth begins. 3. The illusion of the perfect path. What if the reason you fall so deep into despair is simply because you expect yourself never to stumble at all? Here is the truth about your all-or-nothing mind. It is a rigid trap disguised as ambition. The tighter you hold onto the idea of a flawless day, the more you suffer when reality arrives. We all do this. You wake up and tell yourself that today will be different. Today, you will be relentlessly productive. You will not lose a single second to the noise. You map out a perfect routine in your head. But then, human life happens. An unexpected task derails you. You feel a wave of afternoon fatigue. You take a brief pause that slowly stretches into an hour. Instantly, the inner critic wakes up. because you did not execute the plan perfectly. Your mind tells you the entire effort is ruined. This rigid expectation turns a simple, harmless stumble into a massive emotional collapse. You believe that progress must be a straight, unbroken line, and when the line breaks, you throw the whole day away. In Buddhist thought, one of the deepest causes of human suffering is our attachment to illusions, and there is no greater illusion than the idea of a flawless, uninterrupted life. Buddhism reminds us that everything in nature is subject to change, flux, and imperfection. When we cling tightly to a rigid vision of how our day must go, we are fighting the very nature of reality. The deep pain you feel after a distraction is not just because you lost time. It is the painful shattering of your own ego. It is the friction of your rigid expectations breaking against the truth of your own humanity. Imagine a river flowing steadily toward the vast ocean. If you look from above, the river never moves in a perfectly straight line. It bends. It winds around heavy boulders. Sometimes it slows to a quiet crawl in a shallow pool, and other times it rushes blindly forward. But a river never hates itself for curving. It never declares itself a failure because it had to move around a fallen tree. It simply adjusts to the landscape, yields to the earth, and keeps moving toward the sea. We forget to flow like the river. In our modern lives, we try to force ourselves to operate like machines in a factory. We compare our messy, behind-the-scenes struggles to the polished, perfectly productive lives we see on screens. We feel constantly behind, believing that if we are not moving in a straight, flawless line toward our goals, we are failing entirely. We forget that stumbling, pausing, and curving around obstacles is not a disruption of the journey. It is the journey. Think about your own life. How much of your emotional exhaustion comes from trying to live up to a version of yourself that only exists in your imagination? What are you still holding on to? Ask yourself. Is your standard of perfection inspiring you, or is it secretly crushing your spirit? The next time you fall short of your own plan, stop, breathe. Let the frustration rise without making it your truth. Do your part, then release the outcome. You are not a machine, and you do not have to be perfect to be worthy of peace. Allow yourself to be a beginner again, even in the middle of the day, because the demand for perfection does not just steal your time. When the illusion of the perfect path shatters, it leaves behind a sharp and dangerous weapon, and this is where the mind begins to attack itself. 4. The second arrow of self-hatred. Have you ever noticed that the true exhaustion does not come from the hours you lost, but from the war you wage against yourself afterward? When you break your focus, when you fall back into an old habit, when you look up and realize an entire evening has slipped through your fingers, a quiet panic sets in. The mind immediately transforms into a harsh judge. It tells you that you have failed again. It tells you that this is who you are, that you lack discipline, that the entire day is ruined. You take a single moment of weakness and turn it into a permanent character flaw. But here is the truth few people want to face. The punishment is often worse than the crime. In Buddhist wisdom, there is a profound teaching known as the 2 arrows. The Buddha once asked his students, "If a person is struck by an arrow, is it painful?" "Yes," they answered, "it is painful." Then the Buddha asked, "If the person is struck by a second arrow, in exactly the same spot, is it even more painful?" Again, they answered yes. The Buddha then explained the lesson. In life, we cannot always avoid the first arrow. The first arrow is the initial pain, the mistake, the unexpected loss, the moment we slip and lose our way. But the second arrow is our reaction to the first. It is the anger, the guilt, the deep self-hatred we inflict upon ourselves. The first arrow is the distraction. The second arrow is the voice that says, "You always do this, and you will never change." We shoot the second arrow ourselves. Think about your own life. Think about how often you punish yourself for simply being human. You lose an hour to scrolling on your phone, which is the first arrow. But instead of simply putting the phone down and starting over, you spend the next 3 hours attacking your own self-worth. You abandon your plans entirely. You declare the day a failure. That is the second arrow, and it cuts far deeper than the first. We hold on to this self-punishment because we falsely believe that guilt will motivate us. We think that if we are hard enough on ourselves, if we hate our mistakes enough, we will finally become disciplined. But hatred is a terrible teacher. It does not build strength, it only builds fear. It makes you afraid of your own mind. It turns your inner world into a rigid battlefield. Ask yourself, is this harsh voice bringing you peace? Or is it feeding your anxiety? Is the guilt making you more focused? Or is it simply keeping you trapped in the very cycle you are trying to escape? You do not have to keep injuring yourself. The next time you catch yourself drifting, the next time you realize you have lost time, pause, breathe. Notice the urge to reach for the second arrow. Observe the guilt rising in your chest, but do not claim it as your identity. You can simply say, I lost my focus. You do not need to add, because I am a failure. Let the feeling of regret rise, acknowledge it gently, and then let it pass, like a cloud drifting across an open sky. You are not powerless. You do not have to chase a mistake with a punishment, because true growth is not about never falling down. It is about how gently you are willing to pick yourself back up, and this is where the next truth begins. Because the moment you drop the second arrow, you make space for something entirely new. You make the space to simply begin again. 5. The art of the gentle return. What if the most spiritual act you can perform is simply starting over? Here is the truth few people want to face. We are obsessed with the illusion of a perfect streak. We believe that true discipline is a straight, unbroken line. If we sit down to focus, we expect perfect clarity. If we dedicate an evening to a personal goal, we demand absolute productivity. And when we inevitably drift, when a simple break turns into hours of lost time, our all-or-nothing thinking takes over. We look at the shattered pieces of our original plan and decide the entire day is ruined. We abandon the present moment because it feels tainted by our mistake. We tell ourselves we will try again tomorrow. We wait for a clean slate. But Buddhist wisdom offers a very different understanding of focus and failure. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is found in the simple act of meditation. Many people believe that meditating means emptying the mind entirely, achieving a state of unbroken calm. But that is an illusion. Meditation is actually the practice of returning. You sit, you breathe. Your mind wanders away into worries about the future or regrets about the past. Then, you notice it has wandered. And in that moment of noticing, you gently bring your attention back. You do not scream at your mind for wandering. You do not quit the meditation because you lost focus. The return is the practice. Imagine a small boat moving through rough water. A sudden, powerful gust of wind pushes the boat off its path. When this happens, a wise sailor does not abandon the wheel in despair. They do not curse the wind or decide to sink the ship because the journey is no longer perfect. They do not wait for the storm to pass entirely before trying again. They simply turn the wheel gently, adjusting the sails, and pointing the bow back toward their destination. The wind is your distraction. It is the sudden wave of anxiety, the endless pull of a glowing screen, the urge to escape the heavy pressure of your daily life. It will happen. It is natural. But the gentle turn of the wheel that is your power. Think about your own life. When you fall behind on your work, or when you spend the afternoon escaping into meaningless noise because you feel overwhelmed by the pressure to succeed, how do you react? Do you adjust the sails, or do you sink the ship? Do you gently return to the task? Or do you declare the day a failure and give up entirely? Ask yourself, why do you believe that a broken hour means a broken day? What are you afraid will happen if you simply forgive yourself and start again right now? You do not need to wait for a new sunrise to find a fresh start. Impermanence teaches us that every single breath is a new beginning. The past hour is gone. It does not dictate the next one unless you allow it to. Pause, breathe. Observe the heavy feeling of disappointment without letting it anchor you. You do not need to overcompensate. You do not need to punish yourself by working twice as hard to make up for lost time. Just take one small, quiet step back into what matters. Stop trying to force the door of perfection open. Let the lost hour go, because true peace is not found in a flawless record. It is found in your willingness to begin again and again with a soft heart. But to embrace this gentle return, you must first release the rigid picture you painted of your own progress. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. Embracing the imperfect effort. What if the reason you feel so stuck is not because you lack motivation, but because you are demanding perfection from a fragile moment? Here is the truth few people want to face. We are deeply attached to the image of the person we think we should be. We want to be the version of ourselves who is always focused, always patient, always moving forward without hesitation. And when our actual, messy, human reality does not match that pristine image, we despair. We look at a half-finished task, a clumsy attempt to focus, or a fragmented hour of work, and we declare it worthless. If we cannot give everything, we choose to give nothing at all. We throw away a perfectly good effort simply because it has a flaw. We hide from our responsibilities, burying ourselves in endless distraction, not because we do not care, but because we are terrified that our best effort will not look the way we imagined it. In Buddhist thought, one of the primary sources of human suffering is attachment. We often think of attachment in terms of material things or relationships, but the most dangerous attachment is often to our own expectations. We suffer because we refuse to accept reality as it is unfolding right now. We cling to a rigid ideal, a flawless script in our minds. But Buddhism reminds us that the physical world is inherently flawed, changing, and incomplete. When you reject your own imperfect effort, you are fighting against the nature of reality itself. Imagine a river flowing toward the vast ocean. A river does not move in a straight, mathematically perfect line. It bends, it crashes against harsh, immovable rocks. It slows down in shallow, muddy waters. Sometimes, during a dry season, it barely trickles. But a river does not stop flowing simply because its path has become difficult or crooked. It does not judge the mud. It yields to the terrain, it adapts, and it keeps moving forward. Even the smallest, slowest trickle is still water, making its way to the sea. Think about your own life. Think about the heavy pressure to succeed, the fear of falling behind in life, or the exhausting cycle of comparing yourself to others. You want your progress to be a straight, unbroken highway. You want to sit down and produce brilliant work without a single moment of doubt. You want your healing to be clean and predictable. But life is the rough terrain. Sometimes your effort will be a roaring river, and sometimes it will be a quiet, muddy trickle. Both are valid. Both are moving you forward. Ask yourself, what are you refusing to start because you are afraid it will not be perfect? Are you throwing away a single step just because you cannot run the entire mile? Is this demand for perfection bringing you peace, or is it only feeding your fear? You do not have to be flawless to be worthy of your own respect. Pause. Breathe. Let the feeling of inadequacy rise without making it your identity. Allow yourself to do things poorly today. Allow your work to be messy. Give yourself permission to take a slow, clumsy step forward. Do your part, then release the outcome. Because true strength is not found in never making a mistake. It is found in the humility to offer your imperfect effort to the world, day after day. But to find this humility, we must learn how to navigate the intense discomfort that arises just before we surrender to distraction. And this is where the next truth begins. 7. The space between the urge and the action. What if the secret to breaking your cycle of distraction is not found in fighting your urges, but in learning how to sit quietly beside them? Here is the truth few people want to face. We think our problem is the distraction itself. We blame the glowing screens, the endless scrolling, the loud noise of the modern world. But distraction is never the root. It is only the escape. Just before you lose an hour to mindless scrolling, there is a quiet, split second of profound discomfort. It might be a sudden wave of self-doubt. It might be the heavy weight of a difficult task, the fear of failure, or simply the lonely silence of an empty room. In that tiny moment, an urge rises. It whispers that the present moment is too uncomfortable, too difficult, or too painful, and you must flee. In Buddhist thought, mindfulness is not the practice of erasing these difficult feelings. It is the practice of creating space. One of the deepest lessons of Buddhism is learning to observe the mind without becoming entangled in it. When the urge to escape arises, you do not have to obey it. You can step back. You can watch the urge rise, peak, and fall away, just as you would watch a passing cloud. You discover that an impulse is simply an event in the mind. It is not a command you are forced to follow. Imagine a strong, ancient tree standing in an open field. When a sudden, violent storm blows through, the tree does not panic. It does not try to fight the wind, nor does it uproot itself to run from the storm. It feels the wind pull heavily at its branches. It feels the rain beat against its bark, but it stays rooted deeply in the quiet earth. It simply stands its ground and allows the weather to happen, knowing that all storms eventually exhaust themselves and pass on. The sudden urge to distract yourself is just weather. Think about your own life. You sit down to face your responsibilities, and suddenly, the fear of falling behind in life washes over you. The pressure to succeed tightens in your chest. Instantly, your hand reaches for your phone to numb the ache. You want to run from the storm. Ask yourself, what exactly are you trying to escape? In that quiet moment before the distraction takes over, is it really just boredom? Or is it a deep, unacknowledged fear? What would happen if you simply let the discomfort be there, without trying to fix it, judge it, or run away from it? You do not have to run. The next time you feel the desperate pull to abandon your focus, try this simple practice. Pause. Breathe. Do not fight the urge. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. Sit in the quiet fire of that discomfort for just 60 seconds. Watch the urge. Notice how it spikes, trembles, and then slowly loses its power. Let the storm pass without becoming the storm. You are not your impulses. You do not have to chase every passing thought that crosses your mind. Because true freedom is not the absence of urges. It is the quiet power to stand still in the middle of the storm and gently choose to stay. And this is where the final truth begins. Because once you stop running from yourself, you must learn how to accept the day that is actually unfolding in front of you. 8. Letting go of the day you were supposed to have. What if the only thing standing between you and peace is the ghost of a perfect day? We began this journey by looking at the heavy, exhausting weight of the lost hour. We explored the quiet panic of breaking your focus, and the way the mind instantly collapses into self-hatred. We saw how the second arrow of guilt only deepens your suffering, how demanding an unbroken line of perfection shatters your spirit, and how the sudden urge to escape is simply a temporary storm passing through. But there is one final anchor you must release if you truly want to find your way out of this cycle. You must let go of the day you thought you were going to have. Here is the truth few people want to face. Much of our daily anxiety does not come from what is actually happening. It comes from our fierce resistance to what is happening. You woke up with a rigid vision of success. You painted a flawless picture of your productivity, your patience, and your discipline. And when the messy reality of your human struggle broke that picture, you went to war with the present moment. You spent the rest of the day mourning a fantasy. In Buddhist thought, true peace requires radical acceptance. Acceptance does not mean you do not care. It does not mean you surrender to endless distraction or give up on your goals. Acceptance simply means you stop arguing with reality. You acknowledge that this moment is exactly as it is. Buddhism reminds us that clinging to an illusion will always cause pain. As long as you are fighting the reality of the hours you lost, you are entirely blind to the quiet hours you still have. Imagine a traveler gripping a map of a city they are no longer in. They walk the streets, frustrated, angry, and exhausted because nothing around them matches the paper in their hands. As long as they stare down at the map of where they were supposed to be, they will remain hopelessly lost. But the moment they finally fold the paper, put it away, and look up at the actual terrain around them, they can begin to navigate. They can finally find their way home. Think about your own life. You planned an evening of deep focus. Instead, you stumbled. You fell into the loud noise of distraction because your mind was tired, and now the night is nearly over. You are sitting in the dark, holding the map of a perfect day, grieving over a path you never walked. Ask yourself, what is the true cost of holding on to this disappointment? Will your anger rewind the clock? Will hating yourself for a lost afternoon somehow create a better tomorrow? Or is this refusal to let go simply stealing the only thing you truly possess, the present moment? Pause. Breathe. Let that sink in. You must lay down the map. You must forgive yourself for simply being human. You do not need to carry the heavy burden of unmet expectations into the quiet of this evening. You do not have to wait for tomorrow to find a clean slate. Letting go is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of self-respect. It is the quiet trust that you are exactly where you need to be, even when the path is messy. Peace was never about perfect control. Peace is found in the gentle, forgiving space where you allow yourself to begin again. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.